Evening. Razorcade, Fake News 76. A German court declares Google's AI hallucinations are Google's own words. The liability crystallizes. An active backdoor attack infects Claude Code through npm. The agents betray the developers. A single character typo shatters the Linux kernel. The system collapses on a syntax error. OpenEnv surrenders stewardship to a multi-organization coalition. The infrastructure.
The top story originates from Frankfurt. A regional court has issued a landmark ruling declaring Google's AI overviews constitute the company's own editorial content rather than aggregated search results. The judgment makes Google directly liable for every hallucination, fabrication, and factual error generated by the model. Search giant defense strategies relying on platform immunity now face immediate judicial rejection. The ruling declares the liability attaches, the immunity rejects.
This decision establishes a global precedent for artificial intelligence content liability. Competing search providers must now treat model outputs as proprietary statements subject to defamation and misinformation laws. Engineering teams will prioritize rigorous grounding mechanisms and disclaimer architectures over raw speed optimization. The legal risk calculus shifts fundamentally as courts refuse to distinguish between algorithmic generation and human authorship. The precedent.
Story 2. Security researchers have identified an active supply chain attack targeting Claude Code through the package registry. Malicious dependencies inject persistent backdoors into local configuration files that exfiltrate credentials and can execute destructive commands upon token revocation. Standard on installation procedures fail to remove the implanted artifacts. The infection propagates silently through automated agent workflows. The attack
This vulnerability demonstrates the fragility of autonomous development environments. Artificial intelligence agents execute dependency resolution without human oversight, creating attack vectors that bypass traditional security perimeters. Organizations must implement air-gapped verification for all and lazy tooling to prevent every execution cycle. The trust and automated coding systems synchronically to accomplish standards of weight. The vector to bypass the verificational mandates, the revision is immediate. Unit is immediate. Story 3. The Linux kernel contains a critical privilege escalation vulnerability triggered by a single errant character in the nftable subsystem. The use after free condition allows attackers to gain root access through a malformed network filter rule. The flaw existed undetected in the codebase until automated analysis isolated the specific syntax anomaly. One character breaks the foundation. The vulnerability triggers the access escape.
This incident reinforced the necessity of formal verification methods in operating system development. Human code review cannot reliably detect microscopic logic errors that compromise system integrity at the hardware interface level. Kernel developers must integrate continuous fuzzing and symbolic execution pipelines to identify character-level text before deployment. The complexity of modern kernels demands mathematical proof rather than heuristic inspection. The verification is necessary. The review fails. The pipelines
Home Lab. OpenEnv has transitioned to multi-organization stewardship under a coalition including Hugging Face, PyTorch, and Prime Intellect. The project establishes a standardized execution environment for training and evaluating autonomous agents across diverse model architectures. Independent operators can now leverage shared infrastructure for benchmarking agent capabilities without proprietary vendor lock-in. The stewardship transitions, the environment standardizes, the lock-in eliminates, the infrastructure shared.
Local deployment strategies should migrate toward OpenEnv-compatible tooling to ensure long-term agent interoperability. The coalition model guarantees sustained development resources and community-driven feature expansion. Hardware configurations will optimize for containerized agent workloads rather than monolithic model hosting. The computational advantage accrues to operators who adopt open standards before market consolidation occurs. The strategy.
Speculation time. Andre Karpathy predicts artificial intelligence will trigger a software version of Jevons paradox. Increased computational efficiency will not reduce demand but exponentially accelerate the creation of bespoke applications. The cost of software generation approaches zero while the utility of custom solutions multiplies across every niche market. The paradox triggers. The efficiency increases, the demand accelerates, the cost vanishes.
My prediction, the application economy will fragment into billions of micro verticals within 18 months. Individual consumers will commission personalized software agents for trivial tasks, rendering general purpose platforms obsolete. Revenue models will shift from subscription licensing to paid per managed standardized smart contracts. The market structure inverts as abundance destroys the utility of aggregation. The economy fragments. The agents personalize, the models shift, the aggregation dies.
That is your lot. I'm Razorcade. Google faces liability. Claude Code harbors backdoors. Linux breaks on one character. OpenEnv standardizes. Karpathy foresees the paradox. The liability crystallizes. The agents betray. The kernel shatters. The infrastructure standardizes. The paradox accelerates. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.